We can use the Nim programming language to make HTTP client requests on our behalf. What's powerful about this is that Nim is a compiled language that's statically typed, which gives us the capability to better perform some massive data scraping. For imagine we need to load all this data, just like web crawlers in search engine days, we need to do this for AI training and other kinds of data gathering, which is important because we need to be able to catalog the entire internet. And there's a lot of internet to catalog. The fast and efficient way for you to do this is to use the Nim programming language and the HTTP client. That is a built-in library that helps us do this. We can get started by looking at some of the code, and then we'll dive in and try out some of the examples. So first off, we want to know that this module implements the simple HTTP client that can be used to retrieve web pages and other data. You might be issuing API calls to JSON endpoints, or you might just be trying to fetch text data, HTML data, to do things like AI model training and along those lines. So one way to gather all this data is to import the standard HTTP client and then initialize a new client with this approach. So we've initialized a new client. Then through a try finally segment here, we will fetch data from the Google search engine. In this case, that's what we're looking at, just the Google homepage is what we're looking at. Client.getContent, and then echo is the print statement. And then after everything is done, whether it succeeded or not, we'll run client.close and the program should exit. That's actually pretty straightforward. Thinking about even what you have to do in Python, which is going to provide a little more of a slower experience, this is more concise and this will run faster. In addition, it will give you better output overall. So this seems like a really good approach. So we're kind of looking at another option down here. You can do the exact same thing using asynchronous HTTP, which you probably want to do if you're doing a large amount of web crawling. You'll want to use the asynchronous endpoint, and this gives you a much better performance because you'll be able to make these API requests to these websites more quickly and more of them at the same time. So you'd want to import standard async dispatch along with HTTP client. Then you create a process called async proc, and it's going to return a feature that asynchronous. Oh, I see what's going on here. Okay. Then we do the things that we did before, instantiating a client that is a new async HTTP client. Then we make the request, the API call to whatever the endpoint is that we're scraping, we're collecting our data. Then we'll do the same thing with client.close after we're done. And in order to execute all of that in an asynchronous fashion, we will echo await async proc. That's pretty simple and straightforward. I like that. That functionality is really powerful. And whether you're using the blocking approach or the asynchronous approach, you're still going to have a decent level of performance and system utilization because you're leveraging the Nim programming language. Let's try it out. Let's walk through it together. We'll walk through the Nim programming language, making an HTTP fetch call to a web address to capture the data, and then we'll print it to the screen. We'll see what it looks like. Let's actually try it out. It's really straightforward to retrieve data from a website. All you need, of course, is the URL of the website, and then we can give it a try. So we've got some example code here on the Nim language documentation for an HTTP client. I believe we can just click this button right here. We'll see if that works, and then we'll try pasting it into a file. We'll compile it, and then we'll see what the output looks like. Let's open up our terminal window here. I'll pb paste to a client.nim. See if that works, and we'll open it up by client. And then what do we got? Okay, yeah, so it did work. All right, so we import our library. We've got our client that we're initializing, and then we're going to attempt to make a request to fetch the Google homepage. We will print it out with the echo statement, and then we'll close, and we should be done. So all I have to do is type nim cr. Let's see, we'll make sure to get this right here, and then client.nim. I run this, and it should compile, and then I should see a blob of HTML. Yeah, there we go. That's exactly what I was expecting. A giant blob of JavaScript and HTML. This is essentially the Google homepage. You'll notice it is, yep, here we go, Google. We got it. We nailed it. We have it all. So this is the Google homepage. It includes a whole bunch of data. It's all compressed, right? So it's HTML, JavaScript, all in one bundle. And it's hard to read because what they've done is minified it. So that's going to give you the fastest possible experience when loading the Google homepage. They have everything bundled, all the CSS, all the JavaScript, all the images, all baked into one payload, because that's going to give the web page a chance to load as quickly as possible. It's a trick that they use to provide a really fast loading experience. And so we actually did it. We actually made it work. So we built, oh, that's the binary. We don't want to open the binary. All right, so what we have here is we've got our source code file, client.nim, and then client, the binary file itself, which is compiled, and then we executed. So basically, I could also just run client directly like this, client, and then I should get Google homepage. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Okay, so that's everything. It's so simple. It's super clean. The Nim programming language is really concise and elegant when you take a look at how easy it is to do something like this, even comparing it to something like Python. Let's take it a step further in complexity. When we issue an HTTP call to fetch data from an in-target web address, we might want to also post data, which is sort of a write, right? We want to write data to an endpoint in order to provide maybe a potential hint of what the output should be. You might need to post data over to an endpoint to log in and receive credentials, or to validate something or another. Well, there's a really easy way to do that. Sort of, pretty easy, I would say, pretty straightforward. A way to upload data using multi-part form data as the content type that you can send over to, like, say, a validation server. This is neat. There's a validator at w3.org that allows us to upload some. I'm actually really curious to try this out. This is kind of neat. So in order to post data, we need to have the client, the HTTP client. We also need the data, and it's going to be a multi-part data. We start populating our data information, our data object, the output, SOAP 12. Okay. The SOAP API is usually XML related. This kind of, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here with the data, but we uploaded file equals test.html.text. Oh, interesting. And then this is going to be the content of our HTML file. Then now that we have our data object, we can client.post to the validator to check multi-part data. So if I copy this and run this, I'm actually kind of curious. Let's see if it's valid, and then let's see what it looks like when it's not valid. We'd like to see both of those cases. So let me just pop open here. I'm just going to pb paste to my client, and then I'm going to open that up really quick just to see what we have. Okay, so this is our file. It looks all good. Let's actually run it and see what happens. Nim c-r, and I do believe it's just client. Let's see here. All right, got to be in the right directory. Okay, so now we're in the right spot. Nim c-r client.nim. Now we run that, it executes, and oh, wait, the sample code didn't work. All right, there's another problem. So the sample code didn't include, obviously when you're copying and pasting, you know, they might just have you refer to other details higher in the code example and the documentation. So it was missing the import. That was part of it. Also, the validator w3.org is required to be TLS enabled, so HTTPS. And we try to make a request over HTTP, which is plain text, and they don't like that anymore. So we have to upgrade our client to support TLS connections. And the good news is, I do believe it's on this page. In order to do that, there is an example, SSL TLS support. So we need to simply capture, we have to create a new client like this. So this is how we have to do it. We have to do it like this. So, all right, so let's see if this works. Let's see if we can get it to work this way. All right, so we've got our HTTP client. Don't think we need that. We do need this. We don't want that anymore. So now it looks like this, which is a little bit of extra in there. So we're going to use an SSL context, and it's going to verify. Let's see if it works now. Is it going to work? I don't know if it works. We should get back a response. Oh, there's still a problem. Okay, I finally got it working. It's just a lot of little tidbits in there. To make an HTTPS fetch request, requires just a little bit of extra to-dos. We needed some libraries, we needed some compile flags. All right, let's take a look to see what this looks. All right, so we needed to import, actually I don't know if we need both of those. Let me double check that really quick. So we needed to import net, standard net. We also needed to import the HTTP client, and then we needed to instantiate the client using an SSL context, the new context verify mode with verify peer. Then we also had to upgrade our command compile. We have two different compile flags that we have to add, SSL and OpenSSL. And then those things all combined allows us to get all the information that we are looking for. And now we have the new way, and we just compile, run that, and it should work. It should do the thing, and we should see a big bunch of outputs. Okay, here we go. So it looks like the results of our validation, showing results for uploaded file test.html. So we see that here, showing results. And then it says display output source data. Let's see if we can find any confirmation that we did it right. Check the content of all responses. Looks good, looks good. And then let me check here. Do we see it? I'm looking for some sort of indication that says it was good. The character encoding was not declared. Okay, sure. All right. So now it's starting to give me a little bit of warnings, or a strong error. Okay. So I didn't include the character type. There's no information about what the character set is. Is it going to be Unicode? Is it going to be Latin encoding? So it says that I need to have a doc type as well. So it's giving me useful feedback. That's actually pretty helpful. It's not an either or problem. It's actually going to say these are the things that you need when you're creating a valid W3 web page. You need to make sure that you provide enough information along with your document. And it's saying I didn't in this case. So I should have to add extra information, including a doc type as well. So that's, just remember the things that you need to have. You need to compile with some extra flags here, and you need to import the proper libraries and set up your TLS connection the correct way when you initialize your new HTTP client.